happens when you have a McDonald's ripoff and you add demented clowns to the mix. You get a cheeseburger made out of dead children. Not even kidding. But in all seriousness, this story was pretty disturbing to say the least. I think the story was pretty staring to the last few paragraphs or so. I would not want to be in that restaurant in the middle of the night. Makes me wonder how people don't know of the restaurant's existence, except for a select few who have managed to survive the night of horrors. Oh wait, we're back on screen? Okay. Anyway, it was pretty disturbing to be talking about a story all about children's dead flesh. Well, flesh in general. And yeah, it was still the best damn cheeseburger I ever had. Don't you dare gasp at me! I mean, come on! Have you guys tried veal? It's pretty much the same. Peter had this obnoxious way of withholding important information. He'd tell you half a story, give you some silver knowledge, then flash his wide-eyed, square-toothed grin, and you knew what was coming next. It's no fun if I just tell you. Bastard. He had been doing this for as long as I've known him. We met through a mutual friend who had actually warned me of this annoying personality trait. Don't ask Peter anything, because that's how he gets you. We grew close based on a mutual interest in horrible sci-fi B-movies and a general inability to grow up and join everyone else in the great maze of cubicles he had disappeared into. Basically, we were nerdy bums. Aside from his obsessive need to control conversations by leaving out important points, you would never take him for a weirdo. Short, kind of husky, he'd barrel into the room with a warm hello and a strong handshake. No one who met him didn't like him, at least until they actually got to know him. After a few separate conversations with Peter, folks were magically become too busy to hang out. At one point, he actually seemed to have a chance with this young hairdresser. She was nuts. Short, crazy-colored hair, equally short fuse, and the need to tell everyone within earshot about her recent bathroom habits. The two of them seemed to be just damaged enough to work. Then he told her about this new bar he had gone to, how he had hung out there every night for a week and loved the place. When she asked why he stopped going, he grew that stupid grin. It's no fun if I just tell you. She checked the place out, essentially based on what seemed to be his recommendation. It turned out the management wasn't very on the ball when it came to health standards, and she spent a good chunk of the following month with some gut-wracking supervirus. Peter had gotten the same thing there. That's why he had stopped going. As you would no doubt imagine, the relationship ended soon after. By virtue of being the only person who could stand Pete, and only because I knew how to talk to him without being duped, he eventually seemed to calm down around me. I could hold entire conversations with him, and much to the surprise of anyone who had met him, he had actually behaved like a normal person. That is, until the one time I slipped up. I was about to set off on a road trip to meet this girl I had met online. Sounds silly, I know, going to meet someone I had met. However, like with Peter and I, there was a variety of mutual interests we shared. And as far as I knew, she wasn't a little fat guy. So there's that. Peter had driven some of the same road I was taking and was itching to tell me about this restaurant he had found. He had ooh and oh and bite his lip, wanting to tell me how to find this place and about how awesome it was. Eventually I gave in and let him explain. It's called Honkers, he blurted out the second I gave the green light. It's burger joint, but it's different from any place I've ever been. The food was great, the people were great, but the best part, the best part is that everyone is wearing... He paused. I leaned forward expectantly, then immediately realized what was coming, and put my face in my hands. Well, it's no fun if I just tell you. I shoved him out of his chair, and he rolled around on the floor laughing. Oh God! He was gasping for air between laughs. Oh God, got you! I finally got you! Oh, this is the best! I leaned back in my own seat and smirked. Yeah, he got me. Seriously though, I don't want to get sick of this place. I tried to get the conversation back on track. You won't. God, I swear you won't. Well, what's the catch? What's going to go wrong? Nothing. You'll be surprised, but it's a good surprise. I can tell you that. It's good, and you'll thank me for saying you're there. I wasn't really sure if I would actually take the risk, but I jotted down the directions Peter gave me and assured him I would check it out. Up Route 421, past the turnoff onto College Street, turn left on Bridgestone Road. 4 miles past the Sin Stay, look for the big red honker sign. For a moment, I considered at some point telling him that I had been there just to see what he had said. If I knew I hadn't been there just by virtue of being unconscious and being able to talk to him, that would be a strong clue about my surprise. Over the course of the long drive, a lot of ideas like that came to mind. It was a few hours near nightfall when my headlights caught the sign of Bridgestone Road. I only had a matter of seconds to finally decide if I was going to see what Peter had in store for me. And without actually giving it any real thought, I found myself signaling to turn. I guess part of me wanted to find out if he valued a friendship, if he would screw over his only friend. If sticking by him this long didn't earn me a little respect and care for my well-being, then maybe he wasn't worth all that time, you know? I referred to my note a few times. I found myself disoriented, as I never passed a Sin Stay. And as a matter of fact, I wasn't passing anything but overgrown vacant lots and untouched spans of forest. In my mind, I was debating whether everything had closed down since Peter had been through here, or whether this was the surprise. An entirely fabricated restaurant in a make-believe town. A short distance away, the large yellow and white sign loomed over the tree line. Honkers. Alright, so it was there. Or at least the sign still was. The road was empty, except for me, so I slowed down to a crawl just to see if the place was still there. And if it was there, I wanted to see if it looked like it was crappy and full of disease. Much to my surprise, the Honkers restaurant looked new and clean. Its vibrant yellow and white paint job appeared fresh, and glistened in the moonlight. This was a really nice looking place. I pulled into the parking lot and looked the place over. The front of the building had a large fiberglass clown head, with its mouth formed around 2 entrance doors. This place looked like a McDonald's ripoff, but in a lot of ways, it looked better. More detail had gone into the construction, right down to circus-line gargoyles on the roof and a trash can made to resemble a performance seal. I parked next to a beat-up old compact car, obviously someone else who had somehow found a way to this odd place. At least I knew it was open, and yes, other people dine here. Walking through the front doors, I was greeted by the sound of peppy organ music, rattling some speakers in the ceiling. It was just like walking into a circus tent. There were tables and chairs in the center of the place, and several booths lined the walls. Behind the counter, made to resemble a series of large inflated balls, with a wooden plank balanced on top, several employees shouted a greeting to me. "Honk honk! Welcome to Honkers!" They were all dressed as clowns, but not in the way you would most expect. They wore yellow uniforms, just a standard shirt and slacks, along with white hats emblazoned with a cursive H. Their faces were painted stark white. They wore red clown noses and white gloves, but other than that, they could have passed for any slack-jawed teenagers slaving away for minimum wage. I crossed the checkered floor and approached one of the cashiers. It seemed odd to have multiple people waiting to serve so few customers.
"It's a great night for the circus,"
the young girl chirped.
"Would you like to try a big top burger?"
She smiled wide. It was a friendly, open sort of smile that immediately had me doing the same. I could tell that, beneath the makeup, she was probably a real cutie. Other than a wandering eye, which is probably why she found herself working at a place like this. "What's on that?" I asked, looking up at the menu board behind her.
2 ridiculously large patties, a special fun sauce, lettuce, pickles, onions, mushrooms, and great gooey globs of glorious golden cheese.
I chuckled at the absurd length of the memorized statement. I studied her once again. She was on the short side, and her name tag read, Fun Size. I'm sorry, what's on that again?
2 ridiculously large patties, a special fun sauce, lettuce, pickles, onions, mushrooms, and great gooey globs of glorious golden cheese.
Yes, even on the way to meet a girl I thought I was falling in love with, I still felt like flirting a little. Now faster,
2 ridiculously large patties, a special fun sauce, lettuce, pickles, onions, mushrooms, and great gooey globs of glorious golden cheese.
She really knew her stuff. Now backwards. As soon as I made the outlandish, incredibly rude demand, she obeyed. I didn't know exactly what came out of her mouth, but the strange backward speak sounded pretty much like she was reciting the exact routine in reverse. I shot her a look. That you're kind of strange and not in a good way kind of look. A deep booming voice echoed from the back of the restaurant. Immediately, I noticed the pale face of a large, less than jovial man looking out from a small window. It must have been where food was passed up front for the kitchen.
Is there a problem?
The unhappy clam face asked. Fun Size didn't turn to him and instead kept smiling at me. One eye looking at me, the other over my shoulder. No thanks, I replied. The face from the kitchen, a stubbly lantern-drawn face with red paint around his mouth and a miniature derby on his bald head, retracted from view. Sorry. I shrugged at the cashier and made a sheepish expression. Yeah, I'll have a big top burger and a Coke, I guess.
Would you like funny fries with that?
Do you like regular fries?
Yes, but they're funny.
Yeah, okay.
Can I silly size that for you?
Now I was getting kind of annoyed. This seemed like the transaction that refused to die. No thank you. She mashed a few buns in the cash register without looking down at it. As I looked in the face, her straight eye seemed to attempt properly aligning itself, but soon gave up hope.
That'll be $5.21.
I handed over the cash and stepped back from the counter. As I turned my attention to the other cashiers, I jumped a bit. They were all fixated on me, staying at the stations with heads turned, each wearing an identical, idiotically large smile. I should have used the drive-thru. Fun Size filled my soda and placed it on the counter for me. The sounds from the kitchen were disconcerting. A lot of clattering pots and pans, chopping noises, and that angry-faced clown back there complaining away.
Oh, God, fuck! Jesus, come on, you son of a... Oh, for God's sake!
It seemed odd for him to be preparing anything now when fast food is usually done there when you walk in the door. After a final groan of, I can't believe this shit, the guy in the back, the cook I guess, fell silent. All I could hear then was the occasional sound of paper being wrapped and fries being scooped out. Before much longer, a little bag appeared in the window. Behind it, the angry clown seemed sweaty, his makeup smeared. A splatter of ketchup across his cheek seemed to be irritating his eye.
Order up,
he growled. The girl handed me the bag, and my force of habit, I immediately looked inside. Yeah, enough fast food places, and you learn to check these things right before you leave. Either they left sign out, or you get the wrong sandwich, and so on. The big top burger seemed big. The funny fries didn't look funny, which was good. There were 2 sack ketchup packets in the bottom of the bag. Can I get some extra ketchup? I smiled at the girl, whose expression finally changed. It dropped from the frozen grin to a perfect oh of surprise.
No extra ketchup!
Boomed a voice from the back. Really? I laughed. What does it cost? A few cents more then?
No extra ketchup at all!
The voice grew more irate. I leaned into Fun Size and whispered, I won't tell if you won't. I winked. The angry clown face in the kitchen window appeared again. For the briefest moment, he studied me with a look of malice, his red bloated mouth downturned to its extreme limits. He threw his head back, his eyes wide and pupils fixed directly on mine.
Don't give him any fucking ketchup!
He rapidly shook his head no, as spittle flew from his clown lips. I could see this was going down a very bad road, so I raised my hands in surrender, and backing away, carried my soda and my meal to one of the booths. Pierre had been right. This was someplace. I had no idea why he liked it so much, but maybe they had treated him a bit nicer. I didn't expect to get food poisoning, so this absurd disturbing clown theme had to be the surprise he wanted me to experience. As I bit into the heart-stoppingly greasy and thick burger, I noticed something. The other customer, whoever had come in that compact car, was nowhere to be seen. For a fleeting moment, I considered the idea that the staff had killed him and used his body for ground beef. Laughing to myself, I threw a few fries into my mouth.
What's funny?
I heard the angry clown say. Even whispering, his heavy bass voice carried through the place. Outside, I saw a large semi pull into the parking lot. The truck's cab was cherry red and in pristine condition. In stark comparison, the trailer looked weathered and beaten. I was just glad I would have company soon, even if it was just a trucker or two huddled at a table across the restaurant. However, as I finished up the fries and gnawed on a dwindling sandwich, the truck just sat out there idling. Oh well. While I was contemplating this disappointment, I bit into something hard in the burger. Nothing weird, just a small shard-like mass that felt like it nearly broke my tooth. I cried out and spit the offending barb into the wrapper.
What now?
The voice from the kitchen demanded.
He better not complain about my cooking.
That was it. I better not? Or what? Fucking clown. Oh, don't worry, I shouted, my voice echoing through the empty place. I just bit into some razor-sharp piece of shit is all. Silence. Don't worry, I'm not gonna sue, I added. The kitchen door flew open with a tremendous slam, splintering the door frame and leaving the wood hanging from its hinges.
That's it,
came the loud reply. All the clowns behind the counter threw their hands over their ears, closed their eyes tight, and with the same round "oh shit" on the lips, shook their heads no in perfect unison. Out of the door, barely fitting through the door, came the cook. He was an impossible mass of blocky, squarish muscle and had no neck to speak of. His apron was splattered with great masses of ketchup, and unlike the other employees, he was wearing an actual fried yellow clown suit beneath. His shoes honked as he forced himself through the growing doorway, but not in a cheerful way. The sound of each shoe was mismatched and sick-sounding, more like some wet animal bladder than classic horns. Faced with this frothing, bulging, veiny ogre of a man, I quickly vacated my seat and headed out the front doors. I issued a litany of apologies to the cook, the massive clown thing, as he stood at the counter like a snoring bull waiting to charge the matador. I'm not sure if it was just some trick of the mind or something coming from the kitchen behind him, but I could almost see the waves of heat coming off the top of his bald white dome. The cold night air burned my overheated red face as I moved quickly through the parking lot towards my car. I was lost in thought for a moment as I tried to find the right key of my keyring. A gentle knocking sound brought me out of my own head. I looked at the truck. On its side, previously beyond my range of view within the restaurant, was the word honkers, followed by refrigerated meat transport. The sound, the knocking, was that of a small hand against metal. I watched as the driver's side door of the truck cab opened. Out stepped a tremendous fat trucker with scraggly beard, baseball cap, and a stark right face with red clown nose. He regarded me only out of the corner of his eye as his obese frame slowly staggered to the side of the truck, where he gave the metal 3 sharp bangs. The knocking within ceased. Perplexed, just a bit awestruck by now, I cautiously and quietly followed the trucker to the back of his trailer. There, he threw open the rear door and hauled all of his flab into the opening. I could see inside for only a moment before he turned back, looked me square in the face, and slammed the door again. The truck was full of children, some in pajamas, others dressed for school or church, some naked, and others wearing heavy clothing that was all wrong for that time of year. Some were moving, others appeared to be long dead and decaying, bones showing through the greenish skin. They were packed in there, not staying shoulder to shoulder or staying in a cluster, but packed, on top of each other, floor to ceiling. I returned to my car quickly now. Inside the restaurant, all of the clowns, led by the cook, were staring at me through the glass, faces pressed against the surface, and mouths open wide, as if in disbelief. As I backed out of the parking lot and sped away, I thought about the compact car that had been there when I drove in. There was no other customer. The employees had all arrived in it together. On the road, I repeatedly made sure I wasn't being followed by the truck, or even just the cook on foot. I was speeding, hands shaking, so I had to get out my wits and slow down a bit before dialing the police.
911, what is your emergency?
Hi. Oh, God.
Sir, please calm down. Tell me what's wrong.
I just came from, this restaurant, Honkers.
Sir, making prank calls to 911 is a crime.
It's not a prank.
Sir, this wasn't funny the first 100 times it was called in.
I held the silent phone to my ear for a few seconds longer, staring at the road ahead, before I finally brought myself to hang it up. None of it made sense. As I reached the highway and rocketed towards home, the next number I dialed was Peter's. He had some serious explaining to do at this point, and I couldn't even fathom what to say or how to yell at him.
Hello?
He sounded groggily, like he had been sleeping. What the fuck, man? What the fuck?
What? Huh? What's wrong?
Honkers, man! What the fuck?
What about it? You didn't like it?
Didn't like it? I barely got out alive!
Whoa, slow down. I don't understand.
What kind of friend are you, Pete? What kind of friend sends someone to a demented, fucked up clown slaughterhouse?
What, clown? What? No.
Peter seemed as confused as I was. He was quiet for a moment, probably searching his thoughts, then continued in a meek and unsettled voice.
Honkers is it's the staff. It's the staff, all the hot girls. It's like coolers, but they're topless, you know, honkers. I thought you would get a kick out of it because they all wear no skirts.
My brakes protested with shrill squealing as I pulled over into a cornfield. What? I could scarcely believe Pete, but he sounded very serious. No, Honkers is a clown restaurant. It was the only thing on Bridgestone Road.
Stonebridge.
What?
Stonebridge Road, you mean? There is no Bridgestone.
The statement hit me in the stomach like a cannonball. My mind raced. Images of the events I had experienced swirled in my head like a comedy trope, all scattered and frantic, with no goal to speak of. I sat alone in the dark. All I could do was laugh uncontrollably. Laugh. And I haven't been able to stop since.
Dude, is this a prank? Why are you laughing?